Hi, everyone. This is Jim Jefferies. Guess what's happening? The I Don't Know About podcast is doing a virtual event. We're going to have the normal podcast where I'm going to have a mystery subject where I learn about that with a mystery guest. But then we're also going to do something very exciting. We're going to have trivia, bingo with the audience, and have some amazing prizes. We'll also take questions. It's going to be very interactive. So let's see where it goes. Tickets are on sale now at loopedlive.com under upcoming experiences. So go buy them now under upcoming experiences on Looped Live. That's LOOPEDLIVE.com. See you then. Bars. What's best to club someone with, and what's best to get a drink? You might find out, and I don't know about that, with Jim Jefferies. There we go. The song just petered out.
That bit just ended abruptly.
Yeah. So I just got hit with a bar. Someone just walked up with me here. Who's this guy taking the piss out of bars? We're in our new room. We're at the world famous Improv in West Hollywood. Here we are, people. Yeah. Melrose. Woo. Loving it. Thank you to the Improv for having us here. They've been very welcoming, and we've had a wonderful time thus far. Mind you, we're only a minute and a half in. Could all go tits up at any second.
I figured because we're in a new room, you'd have all these new things to say in the intro. And you had
I saw a metal bar up there, and I went, all right.
There's all these books on the shelf.
I've done books.
No, but books. Read the titles.
The bar one was good.
Yeah, it was very
good.
It
was good. Solid.
That might have been the best one so far.
We've done 74 episodes. That was your
run out of words.
71st best one.
We've had a good meet. Me and Forrest played in a golf tournament. We played rather well. A week before that, we played golf with Jack and our friend Andrew Wontok, and we got into a fight on the golf course. That was fun.
Oh. We did?
We got into an argument. We didn't get into a fist fight or anything. We got into
Me,
you, Jack, and Wontok, remember?
Oh, with other people.
With other people.
Oh, yeah.
Not
I
with
remember
each
that.
other.
Okay.
Wait, I need to hear this
We were like
story.
the Sharks and the Jets, man.
Yeah. So me and Jack and Jim were there waiting for Andrew, and Andrew got there right on time, but he was just running a little late. And these two guys said, "Hey, do you mind if we play through? We're running late." They were half an hour late. Yeah, and we're like, but there's four of us. There's two of them.
If you play golf, tee time's important. It comes down to 5 minutes, 2 minutes.
Every 10 minutes there's a new tee time, and you're put. But they were half hour late, but there was only two of them. And we're like, sure, there's four of us that we're going to play way slower than them. Well, we didn't. We get to like the 10th hole. They're still like, we're waiting for them. I yelled at them like, hey, move it along. And then the guy clearly went slower, which is a dickhead move.
There's only two of them.
Yeah, you're supposed to be going faster. And then they're trying to act like we're the dickheads.
Especially when you do a favor for them.
And they came at the wrong time.
Yeah.
They took a mulligan on the first hole. You don't do that when you're playing through.
Yeah. He goes, oh, sorry, we'll play through. Took a mulligan, hit it in the same fucking spot.
Hit another shot, basically.
Right, but the mulligan will play into the story in just a second. So we get to the 18th hole, and they're still fucking just there.
We can't tee off.
They're just dicking around. There's no one in front of them. No one in front of them.
For 3.5, 4 hours, they've been slower than four of us. Two of them have been.
And we weren't even playing well.
Nah,
we were playing the worst we've played in years.
Yeah. We were terrible. Anyway, so we get there, and Forrest says on the 18th hole, hey, you mind if we play through?
Yeah, as a passive-aggressive, sarcastic.
Very good. Yeah. Very solid line. Solid. And the guy's like, what? And he goes, and I said something like, we've been fucking waiting this whole fucking time. You're going too slow like this, right?
He goes, you haven't waited at all. Like, I was like, what are you talking about?
We're waiting right now. We're waiting right now. What are you talking about? We haven't waited at all. We waited all day. An extra hour of our life was taken by these people, right? So anyway, there's one bloke who you could tell he was like, my fucking mate's a bit of a dickhead. He's going a bit slow. And then the dickhead goes like this. Well, we're playing $2,000 a hole. That's what he said to fucking adults. An adult said that to another adult. We're playing $2,000 a hole, and we all went, woo! like $2,000 a hole.
We didn't know $2,000 a hole.
We didn't know about your $2,000 a hole. And then
which, first of all, there's no way.
Yeah. Also, mulligan on the first shot.
Yeah.
No one mulligans on $2,000 a hole. You go,
A
fucking
mulligan
hell,
means
I'm
you take
winning.
the shot over.
You take
No
the
one's
shot
doing
over.
it.
You go,
Yeah.
I'm winning a bit of money here.
Yeah.
He just hit it into the woods. Right? But no, he thought we'd go, oh, we didn't know you were rich. Oh, we didn't know that a rich person was in front of us playing $2,000.
On a public golf course.
On a public golf. Oh, we're sorry, rich man. We should have been ever more respectful of you and your $2,000 a hole. And I hope he heard this, but I said to Forrest, I go, we have to play quick. I got to see what car they're in. Because if we get to the fucking parking lot and they get into a Corolla, I go, stop gambling. You can't afford it. You can't afford $2,000 a hole. You drive a shitbox.
I think they gave up on the whole.
No,
just
no,
tried
no,
to-
They left. They didn't even finish the hole.
They
They
didn't
got
finish the hole.
scared.
They went, we played $2,000 a hole, and we were like, what? Like that. And his friend just went, don't worry, but let's just go home. They just called off the bet, $2,000 a hole.
I think we're even now, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's settle up. I owe you $22,000.
It's only
Take
eight.
checks.
18 holes. Even if you're playing $2,000, if me and Forrest played $2,000 a hole, at the end of the day, maybe someone owes someone $6,000 or whatever like that. It's not like you're fucking Michael Jordan. And at the end of the day, it's gonna like I know $6,000's nothing to be sneezed at. It's a lot of money, but it's still not enough for fucking 4 grown ass men to go. Oh, I did not know.
Also, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
Play faster.
Yeah. Does that mean you have to play slowly?
Hey, it shouldn't inconvenience me. You started late too. If this game's so
Yeah.
important to you.
Yeah, they say that. So that was our gripe of the week. Gripe of the week.
Gripe of the week.
That's our gripe of the week. What have you got for us, Jack?
Jack of the trades.
All right.
That's not what it
What's
says
this
here on
one
the
again?
Schedule.
At 8 p.m., Jack of the Trades reads inconsequential news stories.
Extra. Jack's got some information coming at you. Extra.
I had something different in here.
Yeah.
Okay, you wrote something different in the outline.
I didn't put anything in the outline.
It's probably just an old outline.
Hold the presses. Oh, what's going on here? Jack has some information.
Oh, can I say something real quick?
Yeah, that
okay,
was being Spider-Man
we've had a comment that someone said I was too mean to Jack, and
There's lots of comments.
yeah, okay, a lot of comments.
Yeah. I
then-
didn't know that Jack's mother could spell to write that message.
And so I get in here today, and Jack is upset with me because last night we went to the Dodgers game, and apparently he was still upset with me, talking about because I made him. I
You're
was
a
upset
backseat
with
driver.
I was upset with his decision to go to a gas station, and then
I stuck up for you, Jack.
yeah,
I know you did.
and then he told me he knew where he was going. He's lived in this neighborhood 3 years. I lived there 8, no big deal. But and then he said I was a backseat driver, and he stuck up for himself today. And all of the times I've been mean to him and bullying him and stuff, this was it.
They
To
all,
get to this point today,
they all came
you
to a
finally
head.
stood up for yourself, Jack. Congratulations, you've graduated.
You've leveled up.
You've graduated
You
my
beat the
class.
final
yeah,
game.
you've graduated my class. So everybody, Jack's finally become a man.
Jack
Finally
respects
become a man.
himself. Oh,
Yeah. So Arnie's excited.
What
Everybody's
did you
excited.
tell him? What did you say to him?
I don't remember. It was
He's like,
like a
backseat
blur.
driving is my
I'm
biggest
still
pet
mad.
peeve.
He was like, dude, tell me. He was like, he was a little bit upset today. I was like,
It was awesome.
it's like,
Your
all right,
backseat
Jack.
driver, it's the thing that's one of my big pet peeves.
Yeah, I was very excited for you, Jack, today. It's good.
It's good. He stopped for fuel, and Forrest's like, yeah, we would have made it.
Yeah. But then I said, so Forrest, maybe you should be really nice to Jack today, just like as a bit. And he goes, nah, I'm not doing that.
But also, in Jack's defense, he said we'd make it in time. We were there for first pitch.
Yeah.
We
By the
made it.
skin of our teeth, but we were there.
We
in our
were there.
seats.
I didn't say how early we get there.
The only thing I would say is you still haven't said you're welcome.
Oh, God.
You're welcome.
Don't leave him alone. poor Jack.
All right, Jack of
Anyway,
the
in other
trade.
news, hey, South Korean president proposes putting a ban on eating dogs.
Good.
What?
That's good.
Yeah, South Korean's pet industry is on the rise. His name's President Moon. He has a bunch of dogs. So he's like, hasn't the time come to prudently consider prohibiting dog meat consumption?
It'll be like when Prohibition happened in America. There'll be people stockpiling them. The dogs that you have now you can eat, but you can't buy new ones.
Yeah.
Now, what I don't understand about South Korea is that they have a president and a prime minister. So I'm not too sure how the government works over there.
Sometimes because in Australia we have you have a prime minister, and then you have, fucking hell, I've forgotten the bloody word. Governor General is the person above, which would be called our president if we became a republic.
Okay.
But they're just a figurehead. The prime minister does all the things.
Mm.
I don't know if it's the same in Korea.
There you go. That's it. News story. Any other comments?
Arnie, what do you think? You happy they're not eating dogs anymore?
Hey, he's happy.
I mean, he doesn't live in South Korea, but yeah, I think he's happy for his friends. Yeah.
Yeah,
what about your
don't
friends?
eat dogs.
It says President of South Korea is the leader here, so.
All right. There we go.
No, I think that's good though. There's,
Yeah.
I mean,
And his name's Moon. There's a lot of people called Sun over there. The sun and the moon. And
Yes,
the this.
moon.
They like a lot of astrological things.
Pluto.
Yeah, President Pluto said.
A gravestone missing for 150 years was found being used in a family home as a slab to make fudge.
Right. But wasn't missing was people going, I
Yeah.
can't find that fucking thing.
They
For
were
150
moving
years, passing it on to generations. You look for it. I've done the looking. I've been looking for 50 years. Your 50 years take over. Or was it just that the fudge people flipped it over and went, who's Betsy Wayne?
Peter J. Weller died in 1849 in Lansing, Michigan, and was buried in Oak Park Cemetery. And then in 1875, his grave was moved to Mount Hope Cemetery, but the monument never made it to the new cemetery. So they don't know where it got lost in transit.
Wow. So
but
whoever worked in the
Yeah.
transit department was just like, this would be great for fudge.
So it ended up in someone's house, and they would make seasonal fudge in this family for generations.
But did they ever like make fudge and they go, oh, okay, this is the secret to making fudge. Always keep it warm, keep it moving, keep it moving. Sometimes it will get stuck in the RIP.
It's just a mold.
Yeah, exactly. How come we have a bunch
Yeah.
of PETs?
Yeah, they made the best fudge at Halloween.
I don't even like. Couldn't you just get a slab of stone somewhere and do that?
Maybe they just thought it was, and they never flipped it over because there was an estate sale. And
You
then
gotta
the
wash
marble-
that thing.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
You'd have
really
to wash
bizarre.
underneath it.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like all your dishes go in the sink, right?
It's so bizarre. I don't know. Well, it's a huge gravestone. It was like, I don't know.
Yeah,
how to
I
say-
just feel
5
like
by
at some
5.
point you would see the other side of it. Most of my furniture, I've seen the other side.
Or was it a
of
marble? I always see them make fudge on marble. Was it marble? I don't think granite's a good.
They called it a
fudge
marble.
making.
They called
Yeah.
it a marble slab.
Yeah, it's a
Oh,
marble slab. Yeah,
it's
they always make it a marble. It
marble.
was smooth marble on one side.
I was thinking of like a traditional tombstone. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
too
I
porous.
guess it's a fancy one, a marble tombstone.
Wow. Oh,
Next,
fuck
It was
those
actually a
people.
cross. They used to just make it on the little bit on the side,
Ah.
the little wings, the wings of the cross.
a UK-based surgeon, Dr. Karan Raj, says the most dangerous sex position is. Any guesses?
I reckon it's the jackhammer one where you have the girl at the end of the bed with her head on the floor and then you squat over the top of her. I've seen it in porn. I've tried it once. I can't carry it off.
When you're having sex while you're driving,
That's dangerous.
Yeah.
Kelly, any guesses?
Well, you're having. No, I don't want to say that. That's
Face to
that's
face?
too dark.
Face to face, because you might have a heart attack if you see what you're doing.
It's reverse cowgirl.
I was gonna say that.
Now you should have said it.
But that wasn't my dark one.
Oh, okay.
But I was gonna say reverse cowgirl
He
because
says-
what breaks a dick?
He says it's responsible for 50% of penis fractures that he's personally had to do surgeries on
Yeah.
because during sex it can slip out and the pelvic bone can just crush it.
That's
Yeah.
happened.
No.
I've done
I've
that.
had some dick injuries from the reverse cowgirl. Not like bad ones, but where I've gone, oh, it's no good.
Yeah.
fractured dick.
Yeah.
Yeah, fractured dick. You don't want to cast for that.
They said it's technically a muscle, so it's really like a muscle tear, but they just call it a fracture.
What do you
'cause-
do? How do you fix that?
I pulled a dick.
You're going the disabled list or something?
I guess so. It can permanently curve it, they said.
That's good.
It's
And
the
sometimes-
IL. It's not the
Curve's
DL
not
anymore.
bad.
Move with the
Curve's not
time,
bad.
will you?
I don't know.
They don't call it the DL anymore, Forrest.
No, they don't.
It's insensitive. It's the IL. It's the injury list. They don't call it the disabled list anymore in baseball.
Oh.
That's right. As injured reserve.
Well, now it's the dick list.
yeah.
It's whoever's dick is injured.
yeah.
The dick list.
Last news story. Researchers determined what is the most hated fast food establishment in every country. And they determined this
Jack
by,
Burger
Box.
King
by,
everywhere.
Jack in the
by,
Box.
by negative tweets on
Jack
Twitter.
in the Box. You like Jack in the Box? Is
Jack in the-
trash.
Jack
Jack
in
in
the
the-
Box is great.
Jack in the Box
It's
can
terrible.
pull some things out. Their sourdough
No.
sandwich is
They
all
have like
Yeah,
a
sourdough's
teriyaki bowl
great.
for some reason.
Yeah, they've got a lot of
Tacos.
options.
Yeah,
Jalapeno
the little tiny
poppers?
mini tacos are garbage.
They're
I haven't
fucking-
eaten
they're-
one, but I
they're-
can see.
Oh no, they're good.
Their
No,
mascot
okay.
is a
No.
fucking creep.
Yeah.
Is it Jack in the? It's not Jack in the Box.
No,
though.
it's Domino's. Is United
Oh,
States.
I thought
Yeah.
it'd be Checkers too.
You know who also hates Domino's? Italy.
Yeah, that checks out.
The Italians hate Domino's?
Yeah.
Hey, it's not a good
Whoa.
pizza.
I just had a poppity pop.
When I went to Italy and I ordered an Americano pizza, it came with hot dogs and French fries on it. So
Nothing wrong with that.
Was it
I
good?
wasn't expecting it. I was like, oh, there's one called the Americano. I'll see what Italy thinks of America. And it just showed up with sliced hot dogs. and
Domino's
French
used to have a
fries.
cheeseburger pizza.
Oh, yeah.
It had like mustard
that
and
sounds
Okay, if
everything
you
on
want
it.
to see some good ass Domino's pizzas that you haven't seen, so you've seen the one where the crust is little hot dogs, right? Pigs in a blanket all around the side. Google this one. You won't be disappointed. In Australia, in Domino's, they have ones that have meat pies in the crust.
Oh shit!
Meat pies in the crust.
How? That's
Cheese
so much.
crust.
No, you
sucks.
wait till you see it.
Meat pie crust sounds good.
The crust ingenuity in the Australian Domino's is off the fucking hook.
The 4 and 20 meat pie pizza.
Yeah, the 420 meat pie pizza. Look
Holy
at it. It
shit.
says what it does on the tin.
Yeah, but it's like it just looks like a pile of meat.
That sounds good.
No, is that the one with the pie in the crust?
Yeah, this
yeah,
one, right?
this guy.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah,
Yeah, look at all the meat.
You pull the pies out. You pull the pies out and you eat them individually. It's a little starter.
Well, why don't you just get a meat pie?
Because now you got a pizza and a meat pie.
Tell me you don't want one of those.
This one has a
I would have
cheeseburger on top of the meat pie with a.
Yeah.
I would try.
Okay, what do you think is Australia's most hated fast food restaurant?
Australia loves McDonald's, and I think Australian McDonald's is slightly better personally. But they like KFC in Australia. They're big fans on KFC. I would say Hungry Jack's, which is Burger King.
No, I think it's like Chipotle, whatever that is there. That one.
It's Wendy's.
We don't have Wendy's.
I guess you do.
Oh, we have a different thing called Wendy's.
Oh.
We have a different. Wendy's is just
Denny's.
a soft serve place that sells hot dogs and stuff like that, but it's not the Wendy's that you have.
I was
It's
going
a
to say,
soft
Wendy's
serve
is pretty
that'll
good.
do you a dipped cone and all that type of stuff.
This has a baked potato on the image, so I don't know.
Yeah, they might do it. We don't have regular Wendy's.
New Zealand hates KFC.
Nothing wrong with KFC. I like KFC, not in America, but I like KFC overseas. The American ones, what they do wrong with KFC is that they don't make enough sandwiches. They need more
Yeah,
sandwiches.
they got rid of the twister.
That was my jam in Britain was the KFC. I love the KFC in the UK.
We
Looks like
invented the kid.
Pakistan and South Korea and China all hate Subway. And the
Subway's-
Netherlands and
Subway's
Belgium.
dog water. Subway's shit. But Jersey Mike's. I
Jersey
like
Mike's
it.
is
I
good.
like Jersey
Yeah.
Mike's. And it's the same fucking price.
Yeah,
And it's a sub above.
it's a sub above.
Canada,
I'll
Canada's
tell you-
Orange Julius. I don't even know what that is.
They don't even serve food, do they? It's
Yeah,
just
Orange
smoothies.
Julius. That's
Yeah.
Denny's. That's
They have it in malls. They have it at the
that's Denny's.
Galleria and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Not Denny's. DQ. DQ
Yeah,
or
Dairy Queen,
Julius
yeah.
something for
Yeah.
you. Dairy
Okay.
Queen.
Well, Canada hates it.
I love an Orange Julius.
Any
All right.
other countries you're curious about? Otherwise, that's it for Jack.
All
or
right,
China.
I'll tell you.
China.
Yeah,
Subway.
Subway. They don't like Subway.
My friend says,
What about
Scabway,
Britain?
eat flesh.
What's the least popular in Britain?
Domino's.
Japan.
Five Guys is coming out in
Taco
Australia.
Bell.
Taco Bell.
Japan hates Taco Bell.
They gave it a spin in Australia and it didn't last a fucking minute. No one could understand. They
Wow.
thought it was Mexican. Never think it's Mexican. It's its
No,
own
it's not.
thing.
It's
It's its own thing and it's fantastic.
so good.
I love it.
They're
I'm not
ordering
a-
the wrong things. That's the problem.
Oh, yeah, you
they
order
don't know
the
about the
wrong thing.
cheesy
You
gordita
don't.
crunch.
Yeah, cheesy gordita crunch. You get
Crunch
yourself
wrap.
a quesarito. You'll be fine.
You'll be fine.
All right.
All right.
Let's read some ads about eating healthy. Everyone tells me I need to start reading more. That's a lot of conversations. But just like with streaming devices, there are too many choices. With Scribd, you get instant access to millions of ebooks, audiobooks, magazines, and more. You also get thoughtfully curated editors' picks and smart recommendations based on what you've read, which makes choosing your next book that much simpler. Instead of standing in front of a bookshelf waiting for a title to just jump out at you, sign up to Scribd. You'll get instant access of millions of ebooks, audiobooks, magazines, and more with only one low monthly subscription. I love listening to audiobooks. I listen to them in my car. I listen to them on airplanes.
Mhm.
Basically, if I'm traveling places, I like to be distracted.
Yeah, exactly.
I love listening to audiobooks when I drive, and with Scribd, the world's most fascinating library is at my fingertips for just $9.99 a month. Explore all your interests in any format with millions of ebooks, audiobooks, magazines, and more. You enjoy instant access to Scribd's entire library for the less than the cost of a single book. Why would you buy a single book when you can get all the
I
books?
know, right?
It couldn't be simpler. No complicated credits or additional purchases. Right now, Scribd is offering our listeners a free 60-day trial. Go to tryscribd.com/Jim for your free trial. That's
Try.scribd.com.
I'll do it again. That's try.scribd.com/Jim for your free trial. That is try.scribd, scribd, SCRIBD.com/Jim to get a 60 days of script. You get 60 days of script for free.
This is
Wait,
why
hold
he
on,
listens to
60 days?
audiobooks, guys. Yeah,
60 days.
2 months. That's good.
Have you guys tried wearing your 10,000 clothes yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love them.
Good
I
shit.
love them. I got the shorts there with the liner inside them. 10,000 makes the highest quality, best fitting, most comfortable training shorts I've ever worn. I've been wearing their 7-inch interval
You
shorts
okay?
with the liner. I'm so excited about this.
Okay.
And their versatile shirt. I've been wearing the shorts and the shirt. The individual shorts are the most popular and most versatile style. Perfect for gym days, spinning, short runs.
Gym day.
Yeah, gym day. It's when you hang out with me
Okay.
or you go to the gym.
Okay.
Either way, you'll be tired. Hits and backyard workouts, or my favorite, just hanging out.
That's a gym day.
It's a gym day. Just
gym
hang
day.
out in the shorts. It's packed with features like silver ion for permanent odor protection.
Yep.
Yeah, you
No
need that.
smelly balls.
Especially on gym days.
Yeah, that'll give you permanent odor protection. The silver ion.
You're sweaty.
No bounce pockets. I fucking hate bouncy pockets. No bounce pockets. Breathable.
What do you hate about them?
They just bounce too much. That's where my testicles are. I don't want things bouncing
In your
around there.
pockets?
My pockets are near my balls. Yeah, the pockets go in. Yeah. My-
Yeah, you don't want to bounce.
I don't
near
have
the
tiny balls.
No,
Forrest.
I'm all for
He's
no
got
bounce
long
pockets.
pockets.
I'm a big fan of no bounce pockets too. I just didn't know
I love
that.
a no bounce pockets
Yeah.
if they're breathable and lightweight, sheer fabric, shell fabric, and an optional liner that is very comfortable and prevents chafing. I hate chafing.
Mm.
I don't met a person who likes it.
Oh, I know a guy, but
The versatile shirt is the perfect workout shirt, lightweight, breathable, and durable. They have gears for all types of workouts, from running to hit to spin or boxing. So however you train, they have the shorts for you. As the holidays approach, ding, 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 ding. 10,000 gear makes a great gift for any fitness enthusiast in your life. That's shopping done.
Mhm.
Just sit back, enjoy your Christmas. You've already done the shopping.
Yeah.
10,000
I,
has got you
I
sorted.
gave my brother the shorts and he's been using them to work out. He freaking loves them.
Well, 10,000 is a direct-to-consumer company with no middleman. So you get premium fabrics, trims, and techniques that other brands simply they can't afford to do it. The fabric feels really luxe
lean
and
in
it's
on that one.
high quality. A team of over 200 athletes tested their gear to ensure the perfect design, fabric, trims, and fits. Over 10,000 five-star reviews, free shipping, and free returns, and a lifetime guarantee. Get the fuck out of here, They're saying a lifetime guarantee. Yours or the shorts.
Yeah. If you work out too hard.
10,000 is offering our listeners 15% off your purchase. Go to 10,000.cc and enter the code IDK and receive 15% off your purchase. That's 10,000.cc and enter the code IDK.
All right, now please welcome our guest, Dr. Anupam Bapu Jena.
And now it's time to play.
Yes, no. Yes, no. Yes, no. Yes, no. Judging a book by its cover.
All right. Well, I already know that he's a doctor.
Yeah, by the way, Dr. Jena has told us that we can call him Bapu throughout so everybody knows, including our
Bapu.
listeners.
All right,
so we're not
I'm
being
good with that.
disrespectful.
Well, I always try to tell what people's specialty is by the room that they're sitting in, but your room's very underscript. This angle is anyway. But I do see that you have a couple of you're a very neat man. You've got a couple of blankets there that are wonderfully folded and put on top of each other, like you've had a set designer come through. You're either very clean yourself or you have a wife who has very exact things that go on in her life.
Yeah, you assume it's my room. It may not. It's my wife's office, not mine.
See, I can tell. All right. So are you a doctor of medicine?
I am a doctor of medicine.
All
yeah.
right. Okay. So that narrows it down.
I will tell you, this would be a very hard actual subject to guess, but it is in the world of medicine, and it's something specifically in medicine that we're going to be talking about that is going on. It's always been going on, probably, as far as that, but it's really going on now a lot.
Oh, okay. So is your specialty subject people who deny medicine as science?
I might have given you too much of a clue.
Yeah, it's like vaccine deniers, medicine deniers, people who want to give people sticks and twigs.
I gave you too much of a clue.
Say they're medicine. Am I right?
I mean, I've thought about those issues. You're warming up. So I am a doctor, but I do something else. I spend most of my time not treating patients.
Oh, not treating patients. Oh, not treating. Oh, so you're a professor? Like you lecture?
I am a professor. Yeah, that's right.
All right. So when you say not treating patients, like any patients or just live patients? Like, do you work in a morgue?
Live? Yeah, good question. So in a given year, I spend about, let's say, 4 weeks in the hospital seeing patients. And the remainder of the time, I'm doing something else. And I guess you're supposed to guess what that something else is.
All right. So you obviously work with a seasonal disease.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
A Christmas titus.
Krampus.
Doctor, is there anything else that you have a degree in? You can tell, Jim.
I have a PhD in economics.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, so you lecture on free healthcare and the benefits thereof?
No.
No? Okay, I can't convince an American doctor that. I can't.
No.
All right, you got to give it to me. I'll never
Don't
get this.
insult our guests. All right. Today we're going to be talking about like medical misinformation.
Right. Okay. There's a bit of that going around.
Dr. Anupam Bapu Jena is a professor at Harvard Medical School and a practicing physician at Massachusetts General Hospital and a faculty research fellow at the National Bureau of Economic Research. He also has a new podcast called Freakonomics MD, part of the Freakonomics radio network. Dr. Anupam Bapu Jena has an MD and a PhD in economics. With the powers of an economist and a physician combined, Bapu is a real-life unicorn with a rare dual expertise that makes him uniquely positioned to explore the world of medicine with an eye towards behavioral science and economics that's rooted in data. You can follow Bapu and the podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Dr. Bapu Pod. That's DRBAPUPOD. So, we're going to be talking about, why don't you tell us a little bit what we're talking about? Because you'd be better to explain it than me, Bapu.
Yeah, first of all, Jim, you were supposed to guess I'm surprised you didn't guess Bollywood actor. That wasn't like on your differential, like your list of different things.
You think I'm going to go straight for Bollywood actor?
He's trying not to get canceled.
I see. Yeah.
I want to say that my wife's Indian, so I get to make these jokes now.
You can make all the Indian jokes. You could have said Bollywood actor or cardiologist. I'd been comfortable with either one. So I'm an economist. Say it again?
Cricket player.
Yeah, I wish. So I'm an economist and a physician. I do see patients clinically at a hospital called Mass General Hospital in Boston. But I spend most of my time doing research on a bunch of topics that are sort of like the freakonomics of medicine. It's like big data, really interesting, clever, creative questions, things that you don't have to have a medical degree or an economics degree to understand. It's things that kind of affect us in our everyday lives, chance occurrences that affect us and then impact our health and our healthcare outcomes. And that's how I spend most of my time. But on the podcast, Freakonomics MD, I talk a lot about my research, other people's research. And one of the core things there is we're bombarded with information every day about a new study on this drug or that drug in COVID-19. And part of what I'm trying to do is just educate people how to think about that work and whether you believe it or not believe it.
Right. All
right. So we won't get any angry emails from this podcast.
No, But have you read all the things online, Doctor? Because I have some other information. Yeah, I have some information that might blow your mind.
Yeah, it's everything on Facebook. That's where we research.
All right. So, Bapu, I'm going to ask Jim some questions about this subject, and then you're going to grade him on accuracy 0 through 10. 10 being the best. Kelly's going to grade him on confidence. I'm going to grade him on etc. And 0 through 10, spoons and forks are sticking in your forehead. Jim, you know about that?
I don't know.
11 through 20, ivermectin. I don't know which kind. One of those kinds. 21 through 30, you're sheeple.
Sheeple. Yeah.
Sheeple did. All right. So what is the difference between misinformation and disinformation?
That's a interesting question.
Is it interesting or do you not know
No, they
it?
sound very close to each other.
Yeah, that's why we're asking.
They're both disinformation and misinformation. Misinformation is wrong information that you were given. The information that is.
I thought you were going to say it was a female gender.
Yeah. It's a beauty contest.
What about the disinformation?
Disinformation is, I'm going to go on a limb here, I'm not sure, but is the lack of information.
I thought you were going to say it's like an 8 Mile
Yeah,
when
yeah.
at the end when
Yeah,
Eminem's rapping and this disinformation. Yeah, okay. That's what I thought you were going to
Yeah,
say.
you know how my jokes work.
Yeah. What is propaganda?
Propaganda is stuff that is fed to us by, look, historically, you could go, the government can give you propaganda, with Hitler and all that type of stuff. And, he had Himmler doing all the propaganda.
government
But
does
it can be government, but it can come from groups who want to spread misinformation to the masses or even to smaller amounts of people. But,
All right. Just give us an example of medicine of some propaganda. Just one.
propaganda medicine.
Like, something
propaganda
related
is
to
used.
medicine that was propaganda.
Well, okay, so you have, so the vaccine at the moment, there's a lot of propaganda going around that there's things like it'll make you infertile or Bill Gates is putting microchips into you or stuff like that. That's some misinformation that we're being given about the vaccine.
Okay.
But you're saying like historically through...
That's fine. That's good. That's
okay.
good. Yeah. How can consumers figure out if a study or findings they're hearing about in the news is reputable?
The FDA, for the most part, have to approve that something is a reputable thing and that it's approved by the American government that this is a proper medicine and stuff like that. And other people would believe it's by reading it on Twitter.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's how you know it's real, because someone's written it down.
All right. You hear about this a lot in the news, like people doing this on their own, but like how do researchers crunch data?
How do researchers crunch data?
Yeah.
Well, there would be for medicine, you have to have test cases. You hear them advertised all the time on the radio. Do you want to come down and try out this new medicine? And then from what I can tell, most of the time they give 50% of the participants a placebo and they give 50% of the other participants the real medicine. They see if there is changes to the people's condition. So they always say, they go, would you like to try out an experimental drug? And that's like, COVID's a good example of this. There was people who had COVID who were like, yes, I'll try.
When are they crunching data? How are they doing this?
Okay, well they get that data, right?
Yeah,
and they
that's when you just say things. Crunching data.
They get that data. They put it into a calculator. They add up the numbers. And
I was waiting for you to do some mouth noises and some
Yeah,
hand.
you just go. Okay, that number's crunched.
Okay, let's move on. How do good data researchers check their work?
Well, against other data. You got to have one bit of data and you got to test it against the other data. Otherwise, you're just having data just out in the willy-nilly.
All right, stop saying data. All right, what is a natural experiment?
A natural experiment. Oh, Christ.
These are good questions.
Yeah, a natural experiment would be something like when we all got COVID and you can log the data on what demographics are getting it, who's getting most sick and all that type of stuff, because that happened naturally. It might have been invented in a lab. That's another argument altogether. But that happened naturally out in the wild. Or another natural bit of data is when a fire happens and you count how many houses are gone.
Okay. Here's something that you'll have a strong opinion on. How do journalists decide what studies and findings are reliable and worth publishing, sharing with, or sharing with media and the public?
The problem is with journalism now, journalism isn't what it used to be. And a lot of journalists are just full of shit and just write whatever the fuck they want about anything, trying to get clickbaits.
Okay.
I've experienced this myself in my life. There's nothing that anyone can say that can convince me different. I'm not going to read any bullshit.
So the next,
I think journalism now, there's some journalists who should be ashamed of themselves. I agree with Trump on some of it. Some of the journalists are fucking scum, man. They'll just write stuff without any fucking particular. And this is not just medicine. This is just out in the wild. Without, they do it basically like a rumor. They go, someone has said this, and they go, we're not reporting this. We're
Right.
just reporting that it's been said. And
They
it's
do
like,
it to get ahead, to break the story first, but they haven't collected
there's
any.
not enough
facts.
investigative journalism versus just what we call journalism now. And I imagine that, like, in the comedy world, we have people who we know who are comedians, and then people who just call themselves comedians. We go, that's not a fucking comedian, right? And I'm sure that happens with journalists. I'm sure there's journalists that are like, fuck, they give us a bad name.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So our next question was, can you rely on journalists to properly translate scientific studies to be understood by the general public? I'm going to say hard no on that one.
No, you can't. You can rely on some of them, but how do you pick and choose? And how do you know that your journalist is the good one?
So
the whole industry needs to be overhauled.
So what are some warning signs that findings? It's very funny. It needs to be overhauled.
No, the whole industry. Because even when you watch the news in America now, it's not news, it's opinion pieces.
Mm-hmm.
We've brought on a person who thinks this. We've brought another person who thinks this.
So what-
I like to listen to the news that just goes, this happened in Bangladesh today. This happened in Tokyo today.
Yeah.
I just like this fair down, like this is the stats, this is what happened. It's not that interesting, but at least you get the right information.
All right. So warning signs that something may not be as reputable as they're reported to be.
The letter Q is a big warning sign. If you're starting with the letter Q, right,
Yeah.
it's probably no good.
Okay. Q says. What are some of the most common clickbait buzzwords in medical reporting?
How is Rob Lowe looking so young?
That's a lot of words.
Yeah. Good genes or good doctors?
Is it genes GENES or genes?
What clickbait would be
Some words.
the word autism would be a big one to throw in there. The one something tracking, the word tracking.
Tracking.
No one likes to be tracked. And other ones, pandemic is a good one. What the word isn't. What the government isn't telling you. Everything isn't telling you. If you the word patriot. Oh, fuck me. If anything's called Patriot Now or the Patriots page or the word patriot should be a good word, but it's been bastardized to all fuck.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple more questions here.
The word freedom. If the
Okay.
word freedom's in there, you know you're being hoodwinked right away.
All right, here we go. What is a peer-reviewed study?
It's a what reviewed? Sorry.
A peer, like PE.
Oh, it's
ER.
it's a review. It's something reviewed by Piers Morgan.
Oh, I
And
got that one right.
We
Mark
know
that one
that.
down for a
We
point.
know that's reliable.
How do I feel like this clip is going to end up on his page? somewhere?
You'll be like,
Jim Jefferies talking about me.
So, okay. So, did you ever take a study that has not been peer reviewed? Seriously, I'm not going to forget. All right, next question. Where are the best places for consumers to fact check news they've seen or heard?
oh, that is a good. I would say actual government web pages, not just. And people go, we can't trust the government, right?
Yeah.
But things that are regulated and who have shown a history of telling you the truth and stuff like that. Nothing that says the word herbal. I would say the FDA is the problem is with the FDA and stuff like this, and I might sound like a bit of a hippie. The medicines take so long to get approved and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I see why people get frustrated and angry when they go, oh, maybe this does work, but I don't think taking a fucking horse tranquilizer or dewormer or something is a good way to go.
Horse tranquilizer is a good way to the dewormer. I'm not sure.
Horse tranquilizer will give you a fun night out.
Yeah, okay. All right. Thank you, Bapu, for waiting there. How did Jim do? 0 through 10, 10 being the best on his knowledge of these questions?
Oh, shoot, 10 being the best, So I tell you, I teach at Harvard. We have a lot of grade inflation.
No,
So
don't inflate. Don't inflate.
I'm contractually obligated to give you a score of 9 out of 10 or higher.
What? Don't
Well,
do that.
I'll tell you this, Doctor. I'll tell you this. I'm happy with a low score because I'm very proud of the fact that I acknowledge that I don't know anything about this, right? The problem I think in society is everyone thinks they fucking know everything about medicine. I just go on what my doctor tells me what I should do, and that's how I sort of live my life when it comes to medicine. So I'm not upset with a bad score on this.
Yeah, give him a real score.
So I'm going to give you like a 7 or 8 out of 10. And that's because I'm going to weight the questions that were the most important, like more highly. So if it's a question that's not that important, I'm not going to weight that as much.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
How do you do in confidence, Kevin?
He did seem confident for somebody who didn't know much. I'm going to give him a 6.
Someone
All right, let's
For a moron, he was off the charts.
That's 14. All right, I'm going to give you a 10. So you have 24 your sheeple.
Yeah, man.
Welcome to the sheeple.
I'm all right with that. When you're online, checking account balance is running low. The last thing you need is a $33 overdraft fee. Overdraft fees
bullshit.
have gotten out of hand. In 2019, traditional banks took $11 billion in overdraft fees. Chime does things differently. Chime is an award-winning app and debit card that has saved its members more than $10 million in overdraft fees with Spot Me free overdraft. Fee-free overdraft.
Huh?
Fee-free.
Fee-free.
Yeah,
Fee-free.
Eligible members.
Fee-free or fee-free?
Fee-free.
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 No free. No fee.
Eligible members can overdraft up to $200 on their debit card. You run over, no problem. $200 over, who cares? $200 on their debit card purchases and cash withdrawals with absolutely no
That's
fees.
awesome.
That's just brilliant. Now you deserve to have financial peace of mind. Join the millions of Americans already living Chime.
Love it.
Sign up. Takes only 2 minutes and doesn't affect your credit score. See, so many times you check these things, your credit score's all fucked up. Chime doesn't do that. Get started today at chime.com/IDK. That's chime.com/IDK.
Banking services provided by and debit card issued by the Bancorp Stride Bank, NA, members FDIC. Spot Me eligibility requirements apply. Overdraft only applies to debit card purchases and cash withdrawals. Limits start at $20 and may be increased by up to $200 by Chime. Chime member overdraft fee savings based on eligible members' use of Spot Me. $33 average overdraft fee. Overdraft fee data based on bank rate, checking account survey, CRL, June 2020 overdraft fees report.
Now that I'm back on the road, I forget how hard it can be to sleep in a different room every night, different time zones, flying in and out, not having your bed, not having your pillow. There's a lot of talk about the benefits of CBD, but it's hard to find reliable products. Papa and Barkley creates award-winning CBD solutions for pain, stress, sleep, and everyday wellness. And unlike less effective CBD range, they have an unmatched, clean, chemical-free, whole plant process and proven results. Papa and Barkley.
Papa.
He's saying Papa. That's
saying
his
Papa.
accent.
Sorry, I don't have the headphones on.
Yeah.
But they said pupper.
Papa.
Papa and
Papa.
Yeah,
You're saying
that's
Papa different than us.
That's
yeah.
my accent.
Okay, just making sure. We're
Papa
trying to
and
get people to
Barkley.
go there.
Papa and Barkley understand wanting the absolute best for the people we care about most. It all starts with a son trying to help his father find relief from debilitating pain so he could get back to his life. Today, they're still putting the same care into improving lives with award-winning CBD solutions for discomfort, stress, sleep, and everyday wellness. Have you guys been using the products yet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been using the drops before bed.
I actually have the drops in my bag here, and I use the balm as well because I injured my knee.
I don't even wake up when my son cries. Brilliant.
I have
It
the
works.
pills. There's some
soft
soft
gel pills,
gels, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not usually a good sleeper, and it's good, and then I feel better. I'm not a sore.
Yeah, it's nice for
Papa and Barkley founder Adam Grossman created the groundbreaking relief balm to ease his father's debilitating back pain. I use it after golf. I got a shoulder that gets bunged up. From the powerful homemade balms, Papa and Barkley have expanded their full line of topical balms, oils, tinctures, and capsules, all made with 100% clean ingredients and whole plant, full spectrum CBD. Today, they're the #1 cannabis wellness company in California, and with their new CBD relief line, they can ship nationwide. Papa and Barkley is on a mission to improve lives through CBD in its purest, cleanest form possible. Go to papaandbarkleycbd.com/IDK for 20% off your first purchase. That's 20% off for new customers at PAPBARK. Oh, you got to put the word "and" in. Let me do it again.
PAPA.
PAPA and BARKLEYCBD.com/IDK.
Okay. So, what is the difference between misinformation and disinformation?
Yeah, so I would agree with Jim on that. I mean, the way I think about misinformation is just wrong information. Disinformation, I would say, is moving towards taking information that you actually know might be true and telling people the opposite. for whatever reason. It might be related to propaganda, might be some objectives you have. But misinformation is just like, you don't know what the right answer is. It's just wrong. And you're telling people wrong stuff. Whereas in disinformation, I think there's some intent there that's meeting some objective, which may not be right.
Okay.
That makes
Good job,
sense,
Jim.
yeah.
I think that's basically what Jim said. If I had to summarize it like in other words. Yeah.
That was the gist.
Pretty clear.
What is propaganda? Jim said stuff that is fed to us by the government or groups who want to spread misinformation to the masses.
I also mentioned Hitler.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to go in that direction. I would say propaganda it can be good propaganda. It can be bad propaganda. Mostly we think of it as being bad, meaning reflective stuff that isn't true, but is, again, said and disseminated to meet some objective that some group has. But typically, I think it's bad. How
can propaganda be good? Because isn't propaganda always a mistruth?
I don't know, but English is my second language, dude. I don't know. I don't know.
Wait a second.
Bullshit.
No, I don't know. Is propaganda by definition have to be bad? Like,
I don't know.
Well, they talk about, like, for instance, like my parents watch a lot of like cop shows. They watch CSI everything. And those shows typically are called propaganda for cops. Like you now have cops in your living room and you're siding with them and all that stuff. So you feel like cops are all good, blah, blah, blah. That seems like one of them where they would use it in a positive way because the reputation's bad right now. But I don't know. I can't think of anything else.
See, you just gave me, that's like a research question right there. Like, did the introduction of the show Cops, that's like, in the 1980s, man, it was in the US back then, but like, did that change attitudes of people towards cops or CSI? Could be a good question.
Yeah, I mean, because when they're constantly, chasing bad guys, you're never seeing the cops do anything wrong on any of these shows. It's always they're getting the bad guys, so you're rooting for them. So then your perception of the entire industry changes, I would assume.
All right, so misinformation or propaganda, or let's say in medicine, Jim said vaccines make you infertile, microchips from Bill Gates. Is that all examples of misinformation in medicine?
I think so. Yeah, that's definitely bad misinformation. Yeah.
And when is there like a first case of that happening? Like in history, like how far back does misinformation, like medical? I imagine
like during the polio vaccine, that was always the big vaccine that saved like smallpox and all that type of stuff. But like my parents' lifetime, the polio, was there people that were like, don't give it to the children, or were we all on board back then?
I'm sure it must have been a problem. I mean, this is probably centuries old. I mean, if you think about all sorts of cures and treatments that were being promoted, centuries ago, some people probably thought they worked. Other people might have known that they didn't work, but might still have promoted it. I'm sure that we have plenty of examples of that.
Wow. Have you ever seen any snake oil in real?
Is there real snake
like in
oil?
real life?
Yeah. I didn't even know snakes could make oil.
They have oily skins, man.
No, have you ever held a snake?
I have, yeah.
It's not oily. It's smooth.
You put it in a blender.
Okay.
What?
All right. How can consumers figure out if a study findings they're hearing about in the news is reputable? Jim says the FDA, for the most part, have to approve something that's reputable and proper medicine. Other people,
I think that's that. I mean, for a drug, that would be a good signal, a very good signal that a drug is effective and it's safe for the use that it's been intended for. But there's a lot of studies that come out that aren't about specific drugs or that aren't necessarily about FDA approval. Like if you see a new study that says that coffee has some effect on cancer or heart disease or whatever, those are the types of studies I would immediately have kind of raise a red flag in my mind, because there's sort of this gold standard that we use in medicine, which is a randomized trial. You randomize some patients to one treatment, randomize other patients to another treatment, and then you measure the outcome between those two groups. That's really the most important and most solid form of evidence that we can have. A lot of what you see in medical journals or scientific journals is not of that same level of evidence. So I'd be generally skeptical of most of that kind of work.
So those ones that you always see in magazines, once a year I hear that having 2 glasses of red wine will give you the tannins that will be good for you, antioxidants, and it'll be good for you. And then a little bit of chocolate, if you have a little bit of dark chocolate, that's going to be good for you. So those ones, although they may be true, aren't done reputably. That was the best talking I've ever done.
What's that? We didn't hear you.
No one's talking. We're all just staring at each other.
Oh, did you ask a question? Oh,
Yeah, just ask
No,
me.
we lost his audio.
Did you guys hear that? Or was just
no.
Is that just me?
No, sorry.
We lost you.
We
for a
lost
second.
you. We lost you. I thought you were just dumbfounded by my question.
No,
I thought you were just sitting there going, "This guy's an idiot."
So you don't know what I heard then?
Yeah.
All right, what I heard was reputably like in auto loop. So there was some sort of like audio connection.
The one word he
Rapid-
botched.
Yeah,
You just heard it
yeah.
over and over and over.
Yeah, I can give you a
again.
tablet that will fix that, man.
Exactly.
Well,
yeah.
you didn't even pronounce that probably. It was
That's so
But are they just bullshit? Those drink more
Oh
wine?
yeah,
and-
I mean, it's just like if I were to pick up a journal or a newspaper article and I see the words coffee, sunlight, vitamin D, I'm automatically going to be skeptical. Now, once in a while, you might see a randomized trial of like the Mediterranean diet versus another diet. That would be perhaps more credible. But in general, any sort of study that looks at the association between amount of wine you drink, amount of days you spend on the bicycle versus your likelihood of dying from heart disease, all those things, they may be true, but you can't tell that they're true from the study because the study doesn't actually tell you that. That doesn't mean it's not true. You just can't get that.
So
from the
we
study.
don't need to be getting sunlight directly on our buttholes like that one study said.
I got no comment on that.
I've
study.
wasted so much time.
Yeah, but that's there's not enough hours in a day to do all the things that people telling you meant to do, to eat 5 fruits and vegetables, then have water, then exercise for a thing, drink a certain amount of coffee, eat a little bit of chocolate, have 2 glasses of
And
wine.
then watch 8 to 12
and
hours
then-
of TV. How are you
and then
supposed to fit it all
what
in?
the fuck? You can't do all that shit.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So you mentioned medical journals, so people can't really read those. I mean, they can, but I mean, I have a degree in biology, and I wouldn't even like reading that. It's like,
Yeah,
but so I think.
Can I ask you as a doctor something quickly? Why has all the medicines got difficult fucking names? Why can't people just be like sleepy tablet?
This is a question Jim's
Tummy
asked many
sore.
of our guests.
I don't
just so you know.
understand. Everything's so long. Romafloboplasaplasm and all that type of stuff. Clitrichopoptopam.
He pronounced
All
that better
these
than
things,
reputably.
right? Yeah, but like I feel like lawyers do this as well. Lawyers talking lawyer talk, so we have to keep employing them, right?
Yeah.
So that they can talk to each other in their special language that we don't understand. Is there a little bit of that going on with doctoring?
I mean, so for the generic names, there's often like a basis for it. But the brand names like Chantix for a smoking cessation drug. Like I have no idea where they get those names from. I mean, they're often hard to produce. Januvia, it's like that sounds like someone's name. I don't know that I would look at that and say that that's like a drug name, but I mean, people must be like studying the effects of like different drug names on the likelihood of the person going to take the drug. I got to believe that's what they're doing.
I think Jim means the actual, the medical, like the
real
breakdown
drug
of
name.
the chemical compound of the drugs. He doesn't like that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Why is it so difficult?
What do you have personal against that?
I get
It's
a
too
bit
difficult for
I
him.
get a bit of thrush every now and again. I got to get myself some cream, and then it has the cortisol is the chemical that I
you got
need.
the azoles, the fluconazole, the ketoconazole,
Yeah, I need the
Omeprazole.
ketoconazole. The ketoconazole makes my testicles smell nice again, right?
I feel like
and
you're-
so I have to pick up bottles because I have a different lotion in Britain that works, and there's Lotrim over here, and so I got to pick it up and go, has it got clozaglam?
I feel like he's trying to do a spell right now.
I know. I just
Like
don't want to
the
hear
books
that
are gonna
auto
fly
loop.
off the shelves.
Yeah, that Jim asked this question to me because he just doesn't want to pronounce it once every so often in a pharmacy.
Yeah.
That's
I
your
need,
big gripe.
I need clozaglam.
just show them the word on your phone.
I'm taking a tablet for my hair called Dudestron. Like, what the fuck's going on? Just call it hair stay in my head tablets.
Hair stay in my head tablet.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Rolls right off the tongue.
So as I was saying, the average person is not only are they not going to have access to a lot of these medical journals or research, but even if they did, despite what you hear on the internet now, I'm looking at my own research, is like they wouldn't know how to be able to even read a lot of that stuff properly, at least, right? So we're supposed to listen to doctors, right? Isn't that that? Or what? What do we do? Yeah.
I mean, so just start of the journal itself. The journals, many of the good journals now have gotten a lot better about making the material more reader friendly. So there's like a scientific description of what's going on. And there's often kind of description that's broken down into easier to digest terms. Like, here's what the study did. Here's what it shows. Here's what it applies to. That sort of information, I think, is more easily digestible by people, though. Obviously, reading the journal itself, the article itself would be really difficult. And of course, talk to your doctor, but there's problems with that too if the doctor hasn't read the study or doesn't know about the study.
Mhm.
It's challenging. It's challenging. I mean, this is like an area that's ripe for bad information to be spread.
Well, and something we talked about yesterday too, because I heard this specific example from somebody, a scientist that I follow on Instagram, where the language in science is so different from the language that we use, that regular people use. So like significant in a scientific study means that it's detected, but it doesn't necessarily mean a lot. Whereas when we think of significant, it means, oh, this is a big deal. So it's interesting, like, how do journalists even know how to translate that stuff if they don't have medical degrees, and then now they're giving all this information to us and freaking everybody out because they're using this language kind of inappropriately?
You got to get rid of the word positive, right? In medical things. You're HIV positive. That's not positive. That should be negative. That should be negative.
What about pregnancy?
You're herpes positive.
HIV sad.
What, you're positive with a pregnancy? That's not always positive either, Forrest.
But a lot of times it is.
A lot of times it isn't. We got to find some different words there as well, right? So, okay. Anyway, I think Kelly asked an actual question.
Yeah, no. So Kelly, I would say it's actually not on the journalists. Like I wouldn't expect journalists to be able to digest an article like that. I would say that if a study's crappy, there's really a couple people to blame, right? One is the group of people who are trained in science who did the crappy study. I mean, that's on us. It's not on a journalist to then interpret some crappy work that I did or my other colleagues did. And then the second thing is, most of the time journalists talk to other people who are like scientists who may understand the material. And I think it's on them to be able to say, look, here's why I would not believe the study.
Gotcha.
And journalists just have to like kind of depend on that information. But that's where I would look. And to be honest, like in our field, we're not even as good at policing ourselves as we really should be, because there's a lot of bad stuff that gets published for reasons that I don't even actually understand.
Is anyone allowed to submit a study? Am I allowed to give a study out? Like if I have a rash on one leg and a rash on both of my legs, and I find some leaf and I rub it on one leg and I try a different leaf on another leg, and then this leg heals up, is that a study that I'm allowed to publish?
Not that particular study. Where's this leaf, by the way? No, but
I haven't done it yet.
Actually, this is a prospective study. I got you.
I don't think you want to rub a leaf on your other leg. You want to leave the other leg alone.
No.
To compare it, yeah.
Well, it's two different leaves. I'm comparing the two different leaves.
But maybe if the one leaf makes another rash, and the other rash would have went away without the leaf.
All right, it's over the course of 5 years. All right, I have two different leaves. I've always got rashes on my legs. That's all you need to know.
Is the leaf poison ivy?
I don't even know what that looks like. Poison ivy is one of those things that I've seen in American movies my whole life, and I don't know what it looks like. I'm scared fuck. Every time I collect a golf ball out of the woods, I'm like, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get this fucking ball.
Leaves of 3, let it be.
Leaves of 3. I don't know, man. It just happens in camp films in America.
I've gotten it before. It's terrible.
So am I allowed to publish a study?
You might encounter some challenges if you try to publish that study. But I mean, if you recruited 1,000 of your best friends and you randomize half of them to the same leaf, and randomize
half of them died.
Yeah, exactly. Then there's other issues there. But like, I think just like if you had a high quality study, I would hope that as a field, we'd be able to accept that. You don't have to be a medical doctor to do it, but it certainly doesn't hurt.
Bapu, why are you so nice?
No,
just tell him
he's
no.
a nice guy. You know, he's nice.
All right. Yeah. Just say no when Jim says, can he publish his own study? I think. Bapu.
Well, I mean, but you're a celebrity. You can talk about your results on Twitter,
but
like some people did with ivermectin and stuff like.
Why is my opinion like it can only? What I'm asking is, can only doctors do these things, or the rest of us?
No,
I think only doctors should do.
So, Jim, let me say this: if you had a good idea, I would happily work with you on it, but it's got to be a good. I mean, not to dismiss the leaf on your left leg versus right leg, but if you came to me with like a randomized trial about whether or not laughter helps people live longer, and you were going to randomize comedians,
I don't think I'm the comic to do that.
Yeah,
I'm very divisive.
Wait, so how would you do that study? See if laughter helps.
I mean, I've thought about this, right? I mean, like I'll tell you, when I go into a room, the first thing I start with is like with a joke. So like I'm in here in Boston, and it's often the case that patients will wear like a hat with the Red Sox logo on it. And I'll go in there and I'll walk there and I say, I love football. and then they look at me as if I've said something that's like, poisonous. I'm like, and then I tell them I'm just joking. I understand that the Red Sox are a baseball team, and that's just like an icebreaker.
You're gonna get your ass kicked in Boston for that.
That's true.
What you're asking is interesting because I've heard that, like, if you laugh every day, you'll live longer. And I say that to people as a fucking fact. In fact, I've often credited myself to making people live longer.
Yeah.
So,
Laughter's the best medicine.
Yeah, laughter's the best medicine. But of course, there's no fucking stats on this.
Yeah. How
What a
could
bullshit.
you?
What do you go to the same comedy club every week and then you see people dropping off? I'll tell you, people who go to comedy clubs on the regular aren't living longer. There's some fun people. Two-drink minimum. That'll kill your laughter.
Yeah,
quote.
but you have your 2 glasses of wine every night with the antioxidants.
Yeah, duh. Okay, so you get? How many people would you need for the study for the laughter?
Oh, I have no idea, but I'm saying I would love to do a study on whether laughter is the best medicine, but I don't know. Like you could here's an example.
I had a relative who lived to be 100 who was miserable, never laughed. Just putting it out
Really?
there. Yeah. I think the misery kept her going.
I had a relative who lived to 102 and they love to laugh. So that's 2 more years.
That's good.
Yeah, study done.
I don't know. I don't have relatives.
Case closed. That's in the journal.
So Jim, when you tour internationally, what's the country that you get Germans aren't known for big laughter, are they?
That was good in Berlin. It was fun.
It was good. Yeah, Berlin was good.
Vienna was good. Are
there any countries where you're like, you guys are all gonna die?
The whole idea that there's certain countries that don't laugh. We travel the world. People laugh. You will get certain different qualities out of audiences. Like the Dutch are very respectful. If your joke fails, they'll let you. They'll wait to the next one. The Swedes as well.
Great try.
Yeah, they think it's like a language barrier, so they let you free on that one.
They clap. They clap when the punch.
They clap when they get a punchline like this, right? Yeah.
We did not understand, but very good.
Yeah, they stop and reset. They stop and reset where a different audience. You'll get more hecklers in Britain than you will, but if you beat a heckler in Britain, they will respect the shit out of you.
I mean, you punch them?
And if you put them down a few times, people, well, that was fucking good, mate. You fucking put that cunt in his place, right? They love it. Where Americans, if you put a heckler in their place, sometimes the audience can turn on you and go, that was a bit much. We're all just trying to have fun.
Yeah.
You're like, fucking, what am I meant to do?
This guy ruined my show.
Yeah.
All right. So do you want to are you guys looking to do some research together then?
Yeah.
All right. So let's figure out. Let's figure out something we can do. Like, how many dwarfs do you know? Because I know about 6.
Well, I know you, so I know 6, I guess.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying a case study of somebody.
No, we're talking about laughter in medicine. Why'd you bring?
I was just going to do a medical study. I was just trying to think of the easiest pool of people I could get together.
He's just like planning on throwing Brad Williams and seeing if people laugh.
Anybody. I'm giving them vitamin C and checking the color of their piss.
Buzz studies. All right. When people are doing research, how do researchers crunch data? Like, how do the good data researchers check their work? Like versus what Jim would do with a leaf. Would that be bad?
Well, again, not to minimize his scientific contributions already. I mean, at a young age, he's already made a lot of impact. No, I mean, it's about being careful, right? It's about thinking through the questions, thinking about what are the things that you would worry about as alternative explanations. So, for example, if you're studying the relationship between red meat consumption and some outcome like heart disease, and you find that people eat more red meat have more heart disease, you can't just conclude that the red meat consumption is causing the heart disease. Anything that people who tend to eat more red meat, whether they smoke more, whether they're less active, whatever it may be, that could be what's causing the heart disease. So you want to be one big thing is just to be thinking about what are the various mechanisms that could explain what you are finding, and then say, all right, can I narrow down to this particular example? Like, is there an instance where there was a red meat shortage or where cattle prices went through the roof and people stopped using or eating red meat? Like, that might be a better way to sort of study that question in a real world setting in a way that's plausibly more causal. Like, you could actually say that a decline in red meat consumption led to some health outcome.
Do you feel like that's probably one of the, I feel like that's one of the bigger things that happens these days is people hear information and automatically assume it's a cause and effect relationship, as opposed to there's a positive correlation here. And so now people are jumping to that conclusion of cause and effect. And that's why there's so much misinformation going around. Like, people are just assuming that.
I think that's absolutely right. I mean, you see that with like nutritional epidemiology studies, like, peanuts cause this, coffee causes this, like that's kind of rampant there. We're seeing a lot. I mean, the COVID-19 pandemic has put science really in front and center in people's minds. And so there's tons of studies coming all the time, but how this drug does this, 2 weeks later, this drug has the opposite effect. You're kind of left wondering, well, what do I do with this? None of these data are typically randomized data. So you really should take it with a grain of salt.
So with like, okay, in America, we have adverts for medicine, right? And that's, I don't think there's another country in the world that does that. I might be wrong, but it feels like there isn't. I've traveled the world and I haven't seen any other ads. I find that a little bit frustrating because it says, tell your doctor to give you Chantix. Ask your doctor to give you Chantix. I shouldn't be asking my doctor anything, in my opinion. They should be telling me what I need. Or is, because I feel like maybe that feeds into the whole Americans think that they know what's best medicine now because they're told to tell you what they need. Is that a real problem, or is that just me bitching as a foreigner?
It could be a little bit of both. I mean, I never gonna take that off the differential though. I would say like there's two views on this. So one view of the world is that the doctor knows, everything, and we don't need patients to be informed about drugs through either ads or whatever other ways, because the doctor knows that. That there are people who think that, and probably a lot of doctors who think that. And that's not my view. I mean, my view basically is that more information, good information, is better. And if patients are aware of treatments that they might not otherwise be aware of, don't leave it on the doctor to be, knowing everything that's going on in your life. If there's a treatment that, you've heard about, just ask your doctor. Your doctor isn't then forced to prescribe you that drug. Like if you don't have that disease, the doctor should not prescribe you that. But if you did have it and the doctor hadn't thought about it because there's 10 other medical problems he or she's focusing on, and you do have that condition, it's impacting your life, might be reasonable to consider that or another treatment. So in general, I think that information is good because no one is holding a doctor's hand to the fire saying you have to prescribe this drug or this antibiotic because a patient asked you. That's within the doctor's ability to choose to do or not.
Okay. All right.
All right. Now,
I changed my view on that a little bit. Just with
That's
what he
right.
said.
That's my goal.
I did. I just changed my view a little bit. See, it can be done, people.
It can be done. That's true information now.
So what is a natural experiment? And I know this is a lot of what you talk about. Jim said these like, where did he read this?
Like what
demographics are getting the virus? When a fire happens and you count how many houses are gone. Like, so what is a natural experiment? And maybe we can do some examples of that.
Yeah, I'll give you. So a natural experiment is like, so I already talked about what a randomized trial is. That's a randomized experiment. A researcher, investigator takes a group of people and they randomize different groups to different treatments, and then they measure the outcomes. That is a randomized experiment. Now, many questions that we might be interested in, we can't actually do that because it's either costly or infeasible, whatever it is. But sometimes nature affords us these examples where patients or people are just by chance, by nature, exposed to different events. And because it's by chance, because it's random, you can still say something about cause and effect. Like if I am by chance exposed to one treatment and Jim is by chance exposed to something else, simply because of the doctor who happens to treat him and the doctor who's different who happens to treat me, as long as those things are random, we can then measure what the effect of those treatments are on us. So I'll give you an example. There's a question about whether or not small social gatherings with people that you know and trust could lead to COVID-19 disease spread, right? And, we hang out with a lot of doctors because that's what I am. And I thought early on, like, if I'm hanging out with other medical professionals, they're probably careful. Maybe the risk of me getting or my family getting COVID-19 from one of them is lower because these are medical professionals, right? That's not an unreasonable view to have.
Sure.
Certainly, if there's people you know and trust, you might think that. But it's hard to study, right? People who gather more are different in a lot of other ways than people who gather less. So you couldn't just look at the relationship between people who are gathering socially and people who are not and say, well, okay, people who gather more are more likely to get COVID-19. It could be that they mask differently. It could be that they travel a lot of other places, a lot of different explanations. So a natural experiment is, and what we did is we looked at people's birthdays. We had data from a large insurance company. We knew when everybody in a household had a birthday. And all we did is we looked at people in a household who had a birthday, and we compared those households to other households in which no member in that house had a birthday in any given week. And what you see
sorry,
is that
what, that week they had a birthday, or these just people who never had birthdays?
no, that week.
Okay,
No, they were born. They were
good.
born.
I was
So they
getting
had-
confused.
So it's like July in Los Angeles, and you got a bunch of households where someone in the house has a birthday in that second week in July, and you got a bunch of households in Los Angeles where no member in that household has a birthday in July. And then we just looked at the rates of COVID-19 in those two groups of households in the following 2 weeks. And guess what you find? The households in which someone had a birthday, the likelihood of COVID-19 infection is about 30% higher than in households where no one had a birthday.
Is it because of blowing out the candles?
Yeah, so you're saying that it's cake related?
Cake related.
That's exactly right.
If you eat cake, you get COVID. You heard it here first,
Cause and
people.
effect. Cake is COVID.
Cake is COVID.
Cake is COVID, yeah. It's like COVID, yeah. No. I could be blowing on the candles, but it's probably just people getting together, right?
Yeah.
But the key is, it's not just getting together with randoms. It's getting together with people that you know and you trust. And you do so thinking, I'm not going to get COVID-19, or my son or daughter is not going to get COVID-19 because I trust these individuals.
Yeah.
And still, there's a risk. And we show that risk exists.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because it's like, you know, we're in this room together. We're all like, yeah, we trust everybody in this room. We podcast together.
We went to the Dodgers yesterday with,
Exactly, yeah.
with 54,000 of our friends.
I just got back
I trust
from
his
friends.
I just got back from Miami, so
Yeah, I'm about to fly off to Florida to do meet and greets. Oh, God.
Yeah,
just
but
took
we
a
trust each other in here, right?
but
You
it,
should trust.
But that is interesting because in the beginning of especially in the beginning of the pandemic, people had their little pods, right? And so it'd be like five friends, they've got their pod. But as you looked deeper, every single person in that pod also had another pod that was very small. And so when you extrapolate that, everybody is hanging out with a bunch of people.
Everybody had their pod, and everybody had their person in the pod that they didn't trust.
Yeah.
Where you're
Yeah.
like, this person's our weak fucking link.
Well,
Oh,
Stephanie's out at the club again.
Yeah. Mine was
So wait,
Kelly.
what would it be called if that person got cast out of the pod?
Wait, what's that?
Did you say-
What would it be called if that person you didn't trust got cast out of the pod?
Good riddance.
You
No,
can't.
podcast. Podcast.
You're good. I thought the
was
Boston
good.
Red Sox joke was good, but that was very
That
good.
was very
Yeah.
good.
Edit that out. All right. So then that's an example of a natural experiment, basically is. So
Yeah.
All right. So, and that's the gist of like what your podcast, right? Because I know a little about Freakonomics. I forget, wasn't there a show on HBO? Like when did Freakonomics start? Because you're associated with that whole thing, right? That's your podcast. It's called Freakonomics.
What is Freakonomics? Just
Freakonomics
explain.
MD is the name of your podcast.
Explain
And
to
the
us
Freakonomics
what
and
the
Radio
term
Network.
means, Freakonomics.
So I would, the way I would describe the term is that it Freakonomics, and let me just talk about Freakonomics of MD, which is the Freakonomics of medicine. It's basically combining economics and medicine in a way that's creative, that uses big data, and in a way that is kind of digestible. Like the birthdays and COVID example that I gave you. I mean, we could have been just chatting right now and you could have said like, oh yeah, I just had a birthday and my cousin came and he got COVID. Right. You could have said that and that might have sparked an idea in my mind or your mind. Like, wait, if I had data on thousands of people or millions of people, some of whom had birthdays and some of whom didn't, could I then study the effect of those gatherings on COVID-19 diagnoses? So the podcast is really about these sorts of examples that are, I think, very understandable. Like we're not breaking down basic biology or biochemical pathways, complicated stuff like that. We're talking about things that you would experience in your daily life, but you just never thought about how it impacts your health or the healthcare that you receive.
Yeah, I remember seeing, gosh, my memory is going, but there was something in one Freakonomics episode, and it was like the rate of crime going down at the same time, like correlated with legalized abortion or something like that. Or yeah, you saw that one, Jack? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. But
You said nothing then.
what do you mean? I can't explain.
You said abortion. Jack saw it.
No.
Crime's down.
When abortion was legalized, as time moved on, crime rates went down, and it was tied in with each other.
Because people didn't have to shoplift diapers, or
Well, I mean, it makes sense when people, especially in poverty,
People are
are
desperate and poor
forced to
and-
have children and they're poor. I mean, being poor is another reason that crime spikes, is because people have to do things to survive. So it makes sense that abortion would play into that. Yeah. You had mentioned wanting to maybe run through a potential experiment with with Jim or maybe brainstorm
Oh, yeah.
something.
Are
You want to
you
do
game?
it? Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So Jim, so what I'm going to do to you is,
I gotta flick my left nut, then flick my right nut.
yeah, you got to
What's
get your
birthday?
game tight here.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm just going to tell you a story.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
And I want you to just come up with whatever research ideas you can come up with on the spot. All right. I'm going to tell you a story.
Okay.
And it has to do with whatever idea you have has to do with something related to the story.
All right.
All right. So a few years ago, my wife was running this race in Boston. It's called like the Race to Remember or something like that. I should remember the name, but I think it's called the Race to Remember. It's like a 5K race. It started in a part of Boston called the Seaport, and it went through downtown Boston. It passed through the hospital where I work. And my wife, this is her first time running the race, and she says to me, Bapu, why don't you come and watch me on the race route? So I thought, okay, I'll do that. So I'm driving down the main thoroughfare to go to the hospital to park in my parking spot so I can go outside and watch her on the race route. And as I'm getting close to the hospital, I got to turn around because the road was blocked. So basically, I came back home, and then hours later, I saw my wife, and my wife said something to me. And it wasn't like WTF, where were you? They always do, right? So she said something to me. And so the first question is you have a guess for what she said to me, and give me your guess, and I'll tell you what she said, and then I want you to come up with an idea.
Did you see me running the race or something to that effect? Would have been the
She
first.
said no. She didn't say that because she knew I couldn't see her because
How did she already know? Oh, you already texted her.
Because I told her. I was like, boo boo, the road was blocked, so I had to drive back home.
Oh.
And she said something to me. She had an insight. Let me put it this way. She had an interesting insight that led to a question.
It would have been, why could all those other people stand on the side of the road and watch me? How did they get there?
Yeah, close. It's close. Like, no, but she said to me, she's like, well, what happened to all the people who need to get to the hospital? She knew I was trying to park at the hospital. She says to me, well, what happened to all the other people who need to get to the hospital? That was what she said.
Okay.
And what ideas come to mind?
Okay, so you make when the race runs again next year, right? You make sure that someone really sick on the other side of the racetrack, maybe 5 or 6 people. No, make it 1,000.
Racetrack. I think it's like a marathon.
Marathon. The course.
Yeah.
On the other side of the course, you have 500 people. You make them all sick, right? Give them something to make them sick, and then you see how many of them can get through to get to the hospital to see if there is a good thoroughfare where you can get through. Medical science.
See,
nailed it.
Nailed it. You basically 80% nailed it.
Or what you do is the people who are leaving the hospital, like you've just had your baby, time to go home. You see, how it goes for them, whether they get really frustrated or upset. How many calls you get going, why did you make me fucking leave at this time? Because we couldn't get through. And then you can go, did you see my wife run? And then
how did she do?
And then you can act like you saw it yourself.
Yeah, let me just piggyback on that and I get to the idea. Imagine you had a patient who was like ready to be discharged from the hospital that day.
Yeah.
But they knew there's going to be a ton of traffic so that like an ambulance couldn't come and take them to the rehab facility or wherever they had to go afterwards.
Sure.
And so as a result, that patient was held an extra day and then it got a hospital-acquired infection. You could use that natural experiment. The patient happened to be hospitalized a week before the marathon was being run. They happened to be ready to be discharged from the hospital the day the marathon occurred. And just by chance, they had to be kept an extra day in the hospital because it was going to be too hard to discharge them. Or they were discharged a day earlier. But whatever it is, you then have an experiment where you can say, well, what's the effect of holding a person in the hospital a day longer than we otherwise would have planned to? Are they more likely to get a hospital-acquired infection, for example? That could be something, just picking it back up what you said. But what we did is we looked at cities that host marathons. It's basically what you said. We looked at cities that host marathons, and we looked at people who had a heart attack or a cardiac arrest. That's when the heart stops. And we compared the mortality of those people on the day that city held a marathon compared to the surrounding days. And what you find is that if someone by chance who just lives near the marathon route has a heart attack or their heart stops, they're about 15% more likely to die than if they have a heart attack on other days.
These marathons are a fucking menace.
Yeah, that's why
That's
you
what I'm
don't
saying.
run them for your health.
I don't run them. Here's another
run
one. I don't run them because I don't want people dying, man. I don't want people dying.
Same.
And what another thing you could do is if you felt like a heart attack coming on in the morning, like I'm a bit of indigestion, or my chest is a bit bad, then you go run the marathon because then you're already halfway
yeah.
across
Mhm.
the route, you see.
Yeah, good idea.
You get involved in the marathon.
Yeah.
Because they've got people lining the street there and they can take you over the other side. That's the quickest way to get to hospital, people.
And it's kind of cooler to have a heart attack doing something physical. Like, wow, look at, they were running a marathon.
Yeah.
Like, good for them. Instead of having a heart attack
I
sitting on
got
the
to
couch.
ask you, does this fall into the category of misinformation or disinformation? I'm not sure.
I think
this is new information.
New information. Yeah, new information.
Yeah, I think this is disinformation because they have the right information. They're just putting the wrong stuff out there, Jimmy.
Yeah.
So I'm from Miami originally, and there's always something. There's always an art festival or a food and wine festival.
Oh,
or
they'll
a
kill
boat
people
festival.
all day.
Yeah, but sometimes there's
Flea markets.
Yeah.
You got blood on your hands.
Sometimes there's 2 or 3 going on at a time. So I never really thought about that until you said that. It's like there's people dying because of these people are just want to go to their wine and food festival and the traffic's clogged up and they can't get to their hospital.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, like, Jim, next time you think about going to that Christina Aguilera concert, just think twice about what that means for the people in that community.
Is she still doing concerts?
I don't know. Is she? You
Yeah.
tell me. I don't know. You guys are in Hollywood. I don't know.
Look, I'm still trying to fucking free Britney one thing at a time.
She's too good. You have to go.
But yeah, that's the whole argument made where when people are like, oh, COVID has such a low mortality rate. And it's like, yeah, but if the hospital beds are full, then any of these situations also affects the healthcare of somebody getting in a car accident or having a heart attack. Or
what are the stats in this? Because like in Australia at the moment, in many cities, here as well, when COVID was peaking, they stopped all other operations. They just stopped them. They just went, not at the moment, we're too full. Have we lost a lot of people to that, or is that a very minute amount of people that we've lost?
From those elective procedures, I don't think we probably lost. I mean, there's 3 kind of big effects of the pandemic. First is the direct effect of the pandemic on people getting COVID-19. That's like the most important effect. The second is going to be from people who delayed care for things that were time sensitive, where they needed to get care, but they didn't go either because the hospitals were full or they were afraid of going. They're afraid of getting COVID-19. That's the second group. And we know there's higher mortality in that group as well. And then the third kind of cause of mortality might just be like stress related to the pandemic itself. If you look at just what we call all cause mortality, that's just overall mortality, not specific to COVID-19 deaths, but overall mortality, we did see increases early in the pandemic, kind of early to the middle of the pandemic. So that suggests that the deaths that we were seeing that were in excess of what we would expected weren't just coming from people literally dying of COVID-19. They may have been coming from these other 2 channels as well.
Did suicide go up? I imagine it did, but I don't know that for a fact.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But that would be one of those things like we're talking about. Did COVID make suicide rates go up, or was it something else combined with COVID, or was it someone's birthday probably?
Yeah, it was
cake.
cake.
Yeah.
It's all birthdays and marathons. Birthdays and
gotta eliminate
marathons.
those
That's the
things.
real pandemic, people.
Every fucking year there's another
So
birthday.
I'll say this right now. You run a marathon on your birthday, you will die. Okay, this is not something to be taken lightly. This isn't misinformation. This is a fact. You run it on your birthday, you'll die.
you've been warned.
Yeah.
So we
If the
sort of
marathon doesn't get you, the birthday will.
we talked a little bit. You said a couple of these too. We use it like vitamin D, sunlight, something. So, what are some of the most common clickbait buzzwords in medical reporting? Jim said, "How is Rob Lowe looking so young? Good genes are good doctors. Autism tracking pandemic isn't Patriot and freedom." So,
I like isn't. I would probably say anytime I see an article that has the word coffee, vitamin D, sunlight, exercise, not that these things may not help. Certainly exercise, I think, will obviously help. But anytime I see a study with those words in it, that's like a red flag for me because it's almost certainly not a randomized trial that's studying the effect of coffee on some outcome that you might care about.
why do you think? I mean, it's just because, well, obviously this is what you study.
Well, I mean, I'll give you a great example. I just saw a study last week about people who bicycle, who bike more days per week have lower rates of heart disease and heart attacks. Like, I mean, of course they do, right? I mean, the people who are able to bike 5 days a week are obviously different than the people who can only bike 1 day a week or cannot bike at all. So it's not that the bicycling is causing them to live longer lives or be less likely to have a heart attack. That could be true, but you certainly couldn't infer that from that relationship. I mean, you would want to get an example of like either randomizing people to having bikes and then studying what happens to people who were given bikes and people who weren't. Are they less likely to die of heart attack? Or constructing some neat natural experiment where some people by chance had access to a bike. Like, I mean, I'll give you an example. Let's suppose that you had information on everybody who had bikes, and some people by chance had their bike stolen and they didn't replace the bike for like a month. I would be looking at mortality in the month after that person had their bike stolen, which is perhaps random, compared to people who didn't. But like, you know, I don't know, I would never do that study, but there's like studies like that idea of figuring out instances where by chance people were exposed to some event, bicycling or not, and then only studying the effect of that event on some outcome you care about.
You know what started, this isn't about medicine, but it always bothers me, is the one they always do. They go, 70% of all car accidents happen within 5 miles of your home. And you go, oh, that is bad. Yeah, because people don't pay attention. No, it's because 70% of your driving's 5 miles from your fucking home. That's why.
Yeah. Good point.
I thought about it that way.
You're always just driving up and around. Of course, that's where the accidents happen.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and also, you're always going home. Oh. It's always that destination.
You hear a similar statistic when they say like X% of healthcare spending happens at the end of life. And then people use that fact to then say we are spending too much on end of life care. We should be, you know, encouraging people to think using things like hospice, et cetera. And like, that's like a refrigerator, like X% of the maintenance cost of a refrigerator comes when it's about to break.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to break it. I mean, it's like that. You don't spend money when you're healthy. You don't spend money in a refrigerator when it's working. It's working.
Yeah.
Oh, they always used to give a stat out in Britain. This only happens with universal healthcare, but the stat out in Britain, they used to go that the average smoker costs the NHS £40,000 a year, right? They were always big on this. And it's like, yeah, but they're paying £5 in taxes on each packet of cigarette. I would argue that every smoker pays for their cancer in Britain. That's just a little thing that I have to say. If you want to take the taxes away, you can bitch about the taxes.
Yeah.
But they're being taxed.
That's not an official public health announcement.
No. I'm not condoning smoking. Smoking's terrible. And it's
also, smokers tend to pay more on their insurance anyway.
Oh, yeah. That's just guilting people.
Before we get to the end here, I kind of want to wrap this all together with the journalism and where are the best places for consumers to fact check the news they've seen or heard, because it's kind of all related. It's like there's so much information out there, whether it's people that are actual journalists or people on Facebook that say they're journalists and have a blog or something like that. But like, where are the best places for consumers to fact check news they've seen or heard? Government web pages, Jim said, things that are right.
Yeah, I don't know.
So what do we do? I know you can run studies and natural experiments and you can figure stuff out, but it's like right now it just seems like the world's imploding with this kind of like.
So we all know that Tucker Carlson's your number one stop.
Yes.
Now, after that, what do we read?
Piers Morgan.
You mean after so you saying Tucker and then Sean Hannity and then who?
The peer review. The peers review.
My neighbor, my old neighbor, she knows a lot. She's done all the data together. She said she's putting data together.
Yeah, whatever paper my dad reads.
There's a girl I went to high school with that sells essential oils on Facebook. Should I listen to her?
Yeah.
She's 4.
Okay, great.
Piers Morgan 5. After that, I would say I would say I think the government websites are actually quite good. Specialty medical societies will be good to the extent they have something that's patient facing. Like if you go to the American Heart Association website, they're probably going to have useful information about what are the basic sorts of medical treatments that are useful. What are the basic sorts of things you should be thinking about in terms of improving your health from a cardiovascular perspective. There's reputable medical websites as well. But I think like there's a basic understanding that people can have of like what these sorts of studies are like, how they're done. And in general, if it's not randomized, I would be cautious about it.
Now, what do you say to somebody who, because whenever I watch the TV and I'm watching like TV Land and I'm watching Golden Girls in the middle of the afternoon, there's always an advert that goes, did you take Zoloft in 1997? And then blah, 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 blah. And you're having heart complaints.
Mesh.
We have
There's
a class section. Yeah, there's always a mesh in your stomach. Talcum powders killing fucking everybody. These are all things that were approved and put out there. And now in hindsight, like flumidomide. Flumidomide was a drug that the government approved and then caused deformities and now is widely considered one of the biggest fuck-ups in government history. look, I'm one of these people who sort of do trust the government in certain senses with medicine, but why should anyone believe the government? I'm trying to play devil's advocate here.
Mm-hmm. Because it's about trade-offs, right? I mean, mistakes will always happen. And to think that the FDA will never make mistakes, I think that's unlikely. The FDA will have to, by definition, make mistakes. But their main objective, and I think it's the right objective, is to balance the speed and safety of drug approvals. Because for every drug for which there are adverse effects that were not identified early on, but they get identified later, the question would be, well, should we have approved that drug waiting 10 years? And if so, how many lives would have hung in the balance because those people couldn't have had access to that drug that worked? This is always going to be a problem. But we know we make trade-offs all the time in our life, right? Like when the speed limit is 55 and you're driving 75, you're trying to get somewhere faster because that it's important to you. But you're taking a risk when you're doing that. And the same thing is true for drug approvals, right? We're balancing the speed and the effectiveness of getting drugs to people who need them now versus safety concerns. And so that will always happen. I don't think it happens often. It's not a substantive enough problem in my mind that I would say if the FDA approves a drug, that I'd be really concerned about safety effects. I mean, anything's possible, but it's not something that would come to my mind either as a prescriber of these drugs or as a patient who would take them.
Yeah, that was a beautiful answer, by the way. That actually summed up.
Yeah, made a lot of sense.
That was a good answer. Fucking good answer. And also, I feel like with the drugs, they sort of do give you all the side effects. You know, maybe they might miss one or two every now and again.
Yeah, they're like, you'll want to kill yourself. You might die.
That's the thing with the vaccine. The vaccine, they're just like this. Take the vaccine or stop you getting COVID. You might have a sore arm after you have it. You might have some flu-like things and whatever, and then take the vaccine, the bloody thing. And then you watch another one. Take this pill that will give you an erection. You may kill yourself.
Yeah, your dick might fall off.
Yeah, you're like this. May never get an erection. May have an erection in the last 4 hours, and you may kill yourself. And you're like this. All right, I like those odds.
Deaf want to have sex though.
There used to be one for restless leg syndrome, and then one of the side effects was compulsive gambling. I was like, Jesus, that's a bad one.
Well, that's the one with Chantix. They go, you're going to have some funky ass dreams, man. I'm sure that's not what they say.
Yeah,
and
like
I was like, all right, let's go for this, man.
All right, before we get to the dinner party fact, I just wanted to remind everybody that Dr. Jena or Bapu or Dr. Anupam Bapu Jena, his podcast is called Freakonomics MD. It's part of the Freakonomics radio network, so make sure to check that out. Subscribe to that if you want to hear more about this kind of stuff. It's very interesting, and you can follow him on Twitter and Instagram at Dr. Bapu Pod, DRBAPUPOD. So our dinner party fact, we asked our guest to give us some sort of fact that's interesting or obscure that our listeners and viewers can impress people with, like a dinner party or a bar or something. Do you have anything for us?
Yeah, so I know, Jim, I saw one of your bits, and I know you have an interest in guns. So I'm going to give you a gun-related fact.
I love guns. I have about 10 or 12 at home.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is a fact from my own research. What we showed is that during the dates that the National Rifle Association hosts its annual convention that happens once a year, the dates vary, the locations vary. During the dates of those meetings, gun injuries in the U.S. fall by about 10% during the exact dates of those meetings, and then they return back to normal. This is just kind of normal gun injuries, not necessarily violent, but just injuries. And the reason that we speculate why is because you've got a lot of gun enthusiasts who might otherwise be at home using firearms recreationally as they might, or unintentional injuries that might occur that don't happen because those individuals are actually at the NRA convention itself. So it's a kind of fun fact for you.
No, that's because they're not at home being a good guy with a gun.
Yeah.
I bet your crime raises. No, that's fucking fascinating. 10%.
10%'s a lot.
Is that a real stat? Can I throw that around?
Yeah, you can put it. Put it into one of your shows. Yeah,
yeah, fucking, I'm all over that. It's like a fucking fat kid on a cupcake. I'm fucking love that one.
They might not be as responsible as we thought.
Is the NRA bad?
All right. Well, thank you very much for being with us. And like I said, Freakonomics MD, part of the Freakonomics radio network.
Well, thank you for having us on. Are you got anything you want to?
He didn't have us. We had him.
Yeah.
Oh, no. But
that's it.
You have anything you want to plug, Doctor? Anything you want to say?
No, that's perfect. Listen to Freakonomics MD. It's a fun show. You'll enjoy it. And maybe one day we'll talk about laughter as the best medicine.
Yeah, I gotta do that
you guys
experiment.
gotta get
Thank you,
together.
Doctor, for some bit of common sense there. Enjoy that. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're ever at a party and someone says to you, marathons are good for you, go, I don't know about that. And then run away for 5 miles. Good night, Australia.